Well, let's get across the markets as we open the week and what we can look forward to, and also what is moving markets, certainly from a macro perspective. Pete McGuire joining us from XM. Peter, good to catch up with you on a Monday morning, and looking back at Friday, very much data driven, because once again we saw a new record set on the equity market of Wall Street there, but then that jobs data came in and we saw a bit of profit taking. What are your observations?
Well, good morning, Andrew. Yeah, happy Monday. Yeah, 275,000. It was a big number, but they revised the previous numbers down as far as months earlier. So I think the market just had a little bit of a wake up. It was probably a little bit overboard and gave off some of those gains. The S&P was only down, 2/3%. The Dow was down, minimal, just a fraction, 0.18. And Nasdaq took a bit of a fall, but the overall, I think, theme is still, it was a strong week for equities, and let's see how this week materialises. We haven't got a great degree of data coming out, but it's we're just hanging on to our hats as far as rate cuts and all that sort of stuff.
Well, the key focus this week out of the States is that read on inflation. What are the expectations there, Pete?
Well, when you're looking at it, core expected to have slid on year, Andrew, to 3.7 from 3.9. So there's the first part of it. And then you've got CPI data for February remain unchanged, 3.1% year on year. So there's I think the theme of it all. And if we get into the twos by, maybe April, May, then you're probably going to be looking, as we know, rate cuts sometime over summer. So if they leave it any further along into August or September, then it looks very political, naturally, because you've got an election in November.
What else is likely to drive inflation, you think, going forward, in particular, I guess, with a focus on oil?
Well, you got CERA week this week in Houston, Andrew. It's the biggest week in the world as far as energy, so everyone's over there. And naturally, the theme coming out as far as, higher energy prices and the stickiness that adds to inflation. At the current market, you're sitting at that early 80s, 82 for Brent, 81.5. If it was to, drive higher, then that's going to be a real, headwind that inflation, I suppose, appreciates. But at the moment, it's a little bit more manageable, but you don't want to see that go higher, Andrew.
All right. So all that considered, then, what are we seeing with the Fed funds rate?
Well, that's the $64,000 question, isn't it? When you're looking at it this week and how it all materialises, I think it's just a pushback. I'm waiting to see what happens as far as Fed Chair Powell, what his comments are, and naturally the whole theme. You're looking at Eurozone, you look at the Fed, and I think it's going to be naturally a few months out. So I haven't really answered your question, but I think it's just going to be pushed back for a number of months yet, and hopefully it might happen by summer.
Pete, how have we seen the performance of the US dollar? It did come off on Friday. It has been under recent pressure. How are you seeing it tracking?
Well, Andrew, it's under 103. It's at 102.70, 102.72, and it's been pushed down lower. You've seen all the currencies have a bounce to the upside. Yen's done quite nicely. Certainly the euro, our Aussies bounced, and so has the pound. So if you're looking at those in the Canadian dollar, but the whole, I think, theme at the moment is probably a little bit softer, and that downdraft probably continue over the next week. Waiting to see, themes, the noise coming out of the Fed and so on. And then you've seen the big push up as far as metals, as precious that is, and Bitcoin. So I think that's the counter argument to it, Andrew.
All right, actually, we'll get onto that in just a moment. Before then, though, the other currency in focus at the moment is very much the yen, on speculation that the Bank of Japan could actually move.
Yeah, exactly. You're sitting in there at that 147 mark. So if they were prepared to do something, then I think that it'd rocket to the upside. You might see, a 144, 143 handle. What impact that has to the Nikkei is another thing. But yeah, certainly, the yen's probably got more upside in the short term if they were to do something, which is everyone's been waiting for.
Pete, how's the Aussie tracking at the moment? Do you see it sort of remaining in some sort of a trading range at this point?
Yeah, I think so, Andrew. 66.20 at the moment. I think it's probably got the capacity. If the US dollar comes off, you might breach 67. We've just got to see how it rolls this week. And, it's just it's a very tight band. That's 66.5 down to 64.5, and it trades and oscillates between that. So I'm not expecting any, great moves to the upside unless we saw something, very strange happen. And I think it's just in a bit of a holding pattern at the moment.
Now, Pete, I do note you're wearing gold tie at the moment. I know you're a bit of a bull on the precious metal at the moment. What are you seeing?
Well, Andrew touched 2200 during the week, and I think that's probably that's a little bit of a wake-up call. Everyone's been long, and traders are loving it. They're rubbing their hands with glee. You're at 2180 at the moment, 2185. So I won't be surprised this week to take, and close above 2200. I think it's got the momentum. It's going to be volatile, and that's the whole, I think, attraction to short-term trading on gold. The people have done extremely well. We've got, a large concentration of traders that follow the market very closely and keep an eye on silver as well.
And let's round it out with the most volatile, but certainly the one that has pressed the most in terms of gains this year is Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I think it actually touched 70,000 over the weekend.
Yes, it did. It was 69 odd thousand this morning, about 69.5. I've just had a look and it's about 68.7. So it's choppy, but test 70,000. It's just that chart tells it all, doesn't it? I mean, it's parabolic since the start of the year and really since mid-January. So I think it's got a lot more upside, Andrew, and many analysts are saying it's got a 100 or a 200 by end of year. So I just strap yourself in because I think it's going to be one hell of a ride.